Okay, thanks, Annette, and thank you for inviting us here today. You know, one of the biggest responsibilities we have as legislators is to get out and listen to people and find out what their concerns are, and that's why I look forward to this type of event. I want to thank Bill and Kelly for their hard work this year. This is the first year in the General Assembly. My district, which includes Kelly and Bill's House districts, goes from 79th and Ada on the northeast corner, and takes in part of Chicago's 18th ward, most of the 19th ward.
So my name's Kelly Burke. I'm the state representative for the 36th district. I take in, let's say, the northern half of Senator Maloney's district.
If you don't mind, because it said they covered a lot of the main issues, I'd like to talk just briefly about what it was like to be a freshman member of the legislature and whether or not my expectations were met. I can tell you one thing that I found really most surprising and pleasantly surprising was that I felt the atmosphere in Springfield was much more bipartisan. I really enjoy representing you in the General Assembly, and I'm looking forward to doing it for years to come.
There were two questions that were specifically addressed to, well, Senator Maloney's the only senator here, so they are about Senate bills.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, one question relative to improving policing and oversight and regulation, expansion of gambling. The gaming bill that came through in the spring was huge. Okay? It was, and I voted for it knowing fully well that this was not going to be the final product. But the only way any gaming legislation was going to pass is if you let everybody in on it. If I had my way, there would be a Chicago casino. The rationale for that being that a lot of that money would be tourism money, okay, in downtown Chicago. It would generate jobs. It would revitalize the hotel, restaurant industry in the city, and a south suburban casino. In terms of the oversight, that is going to be a key component to this. The legislature is in no mood to see any further scandals involved in ownership or anything like that. So the final product, quite honestly, I really am not totally optimistic that we're going to get a gaming bill out of the veto session.
Okay, there's a redistricting question. Are there legal ramifications in having a legislative representative appointed to a new redistricted area where he, I guess, or she, never was voted into by the residents?
I get a little bit disturbed when the newspaper said it was not an open process and all this kind of thing. We had hearings, Chicago, Springfield, Peoria, Carbondale, several suburban areas in which people were invited to speak on the redistricting process. Okay, now the redistricting process, the way it works is after each census, there is a redrawing of the districts to reflect population shifts and changes within the state of Illinois. The other issue deals with the number of pension bills that are coming forward. As you know, last year we created before Kelly and Bill got to the legislature, a second tier of pensions. Okay, beginning January 1st, 2011, anybody entering the teachers' retirements or some of the other pensions, it's going to take those people a little longer to reach full pension benefits, and their full pension benefits are going to be less than the people who are currently in the system. You know, my feeling was that people who are in the system signed up for a deal, and that's the deal you should get. People coming in as of January 2011 know the deal they're going to get. And so my philosophy going forward is that you signed up for this package, that's the package you should get. Nobody wants to be involved in a pension not knowing if their benefit is going to be there. That causes a great deal of anxiety. I understand it. But to simply throw in a bill and say, I'm going to do this without people being at the table, I'm not going to buy into it.
So as currently proposed, Senate Bill 512, I'm not in favor of it. I think it's, for the same reasons as Senator Maloney, it is a one-sided, untested way of doing things.
I have much the same view on the pensions. I think that the proposal that's out there now, 512, the main one we've been focused on, that didn't have enough support to even be called for a vote in the spring. That still seems to be the working document out there. There have been a number of meetings, small working groups that have gotten together, both the individuals pushing reform and tend to come from the corporate side, and the individuals are trying to preserve things the way they are now, mostly from organized labor. And there is a willingness, I think, on behalf of those individuals to compromise and to share the sacrifice.
All right, so I'm not an expert on school consolidation, but I have looked into it. This is what I have heard. That in the case of putting a grade school in with a high school and having a consolidated district, I think it's a unit district, yes, you would eliminate some administrative issues. You'd only need one superintendent. You'd probably be able to remove a couple of the principals, or you'd only need one business agent, things like that. But the high school teachers and staff and the grade school teachers and staff are part of two different bargaining units, and their pay scales are different. In general, grade school teachers make less than high school teachers. So what I always hear is what you would save on the administrative level, you would lose because you would have to bring parity between the grade school and the high school.
Chris Slowik from the League of Women Voters has joined us. And Chris, are you familiar with Kelly Burke, one of our state representatives, Ed Maloney, our state senator, and Bill Cunningham, our state representative as well?
Yes, I am. In fact, they are my legislators. Question is for all of you to answer. Do you support the use of gambling revenues for public services?
I think that the gambling revenues, if we're especially talking specifically about the bill that passed the legislature this spring, that the way that they divvied up the revenue, I think, was appropriate. My preference would have been that we take a big chunk of that money and use it to pay the unfunded pension liability.
First of all, we're going to have to determine what the level of revenue is going to be, because the bill itself, as you know, has not passed yet. I mean, it is a huge gaming bill that, quite frankly, is not going to pass in its current form. There has to be determined what is the priority list going to be. And unless everybody is part of the discussion, part of the priorities, it's going to be difficult.
If I got to choose where all the new revenue would go to, I think it would go, the best place, or there are two really good places to put it. One is in capital development. I think that this new revenue could be used to kind of give the economy a bit of a charge. The other thing that Kelly mentioned is to take care of unfunded pension mandates. That's going to create a real financial pressure on all the taxpayers. It would be nice to find a new stream of revenue to take care of that.
Thank you. Once again, this question is for all of you to answer. Do you believe that the current process for redistricting is working for the voters?
No, I don't think it does, because I think it ends up with a lot of districts that are hard for people to understand, and frankly, it's confusing to average voters. All the way down to the point where they don't always know who represents them. The problem is that it's awfully difficult to come up with a good system to replace it.
I think we've come a long way since the last census in opening up the process. I was part of the Senate Redistricting Committee. We had hearings in Chicago, Springfield, Peoria, Carbondale, many of the suburban areas of the state, Kankakee, and depending on where you were at, there was a high level of public interest. You know, the problem is drawing the districts to accommodate everyone is extremely, extremely difficult. It was well publicized. People had the opportunity for their input. The input, I can tell you, was listened to, and in the final analysis, we did draw maps that I think are in compliance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day.